Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Man, we kind of had some technical difficulties a little bit, but never mind that. The show must go on. Welcome to Behind the Experience with me, Anthony McCreary. I'm going to be the one directing this thing. I'm going to be your liaison. A little bit about me. I am a car salesperson. I have been in this industry for some time now. I know the ins and outs. I mostly deal with Nissans, but I'm familiar with all makes and models for the most part. The reason for me wanting to do this show in particular is I felt as if this is an industry where there's so many things that are changing constantly, but the problem that we seem to have is information is kind of scarce. And depending upon where you get your information from, whether that be from the news, whether that be from newspapers, these things can be conflicting, and it can even be conflicting depending upon where you live in the country. So what I wanted to do, because this was placed on my heart, what I wanted to do was help bridge the gap between all of that disinformation and everything else and kind of put it all together, as my grandmother would say, put it where the goats can get it, for the everyday consumer, because we all at some point are consumers of something. And the more educated we are, the better off we ultimately will be. Not only that, this show ultimately for me is going to be about not just customer service, not just customer education, not just information, but there will be some entertainment as well. We would definitely have a lot of fun, a lot of different topics for you gearheads out there, man. There are going to be interviews with service techs. There's going to be interviews with mechanics and modifiers. This show is definitely going to be something for everybody. So the automotive industry, for the most part, is quite large and very vast, and it's moving constantly. A lot of it is geared toward whatever the Fed may be doing with rates. That's on the front end. That's what I call the front end as far as sales is concerned. Technology concerns, that may be what's going on within the vehicles themselves, such as EVs and all that. All this information is coming at us all at one specific time. And crazy thing is, sometimes we don't know where we fit in it. So this is what I want to do, and this is what I want to help with, trying to help us as a whole figure out kind of where we can fit into all of this, especially as we begin to move closer and closer and closer to this whole EV thing. EVs are coming right around the corner. Yeah, they said by 2040. I hate to tell you, you're seeing it now. Ford is doing a lot of that EV action right now. Practically everyone right now, all your automakers right now are going to have some type of EV on the lot within the next couple of years. I know Nissan in particular, we are going to have two. One you are very familiar with, and that is the Leaf. And the second one is going to be coming out next year, 2023, and that is the Aria. So that one is kind of going to be more the premium vehicle. But everybody, for the most part, over the next couple of years is going to be doing the whole EV movement. See, and that's my thing. I want to be able to help you guys with that. So that's what this show is going to definitely be about. It's ultimately, this show is going to be centered around you, the customer, you, the consumer, you, the person, wherever you fall in that, wherever you are demographically. This show is ultimately going to be about you. And I will do my best, my absolute best, to make sure that we go about this the right way, but making sure that we give you the information that we know for a fact, ultimately, that is going to be right and going to be correct. So then the next time that you have an encounter with a salesperson, or you're going to a dealership, you kind of already know what to do, and you won't be feeling like, okay, this person's going to get ready to take advantage of me. Or for the gearheads out there, at least you're going to be able to, talk to some folks who are really doing it big in the industry, especially as it comes to modifications on your own vehicles. May even end up talking to, some different type of clubs, motorcycle clubs, things of that nature as well, because like I said, I want to touch everybody. I mean, the automotive industry, transportation as a whole is a big deal, because it affects, guess what, probably anywhere between 70 to 80% of us. you know, especially where I am. I mean, transportation and the automotive industry is huge, being here in South Georgia. So, yeah, I'm excited. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while now. Like I said, this has been placed on my heart to be able to take this information that I have, all this knowledge that I have, and to share it. Because again, I am someone that says that your gift is not to be hoarded, it is to be shared. This is definitely my gift, and I want to share this with all of you so you guys can be better consumers of it all. Um, Other parts of this show, ultimately, as I bring in guests and as we kind of evolve, the show may end up getting longer. But the guests that they're going to be vast. They're going to be, I'm going to bring in women. I'm going to bring in women who are in the industry on the sales side and potentially on the mechanical side of things. I may bring in someone who is an EV expert, just so we can have a greater understanding of what's to come, because it is coming. Yeah, it is definitely coming. This isn't something that, okay, it's just going to be for these folks over here in California. No, it's coming to every state in the union. So we need to be abreast on all these different vast subjects, kind of like right now, the feds just raised rates a couple 0.75 last week, right? This is the third time they have raised rates. Well, what does that mean for you? That could mean a lot. The what you're accustomed to getting, if you are a qualified customer, you're not going to be getting that, and it may be a while till we see that downturn again. Chip shortage is still a thing now in metropolitan areas. It may not be as bad because you're seeing inventory, but they're still not up to full capacity. So that are things that you should have to go with. Well, what about the rebates money that we've been so accustomed to seeing in the automotive industry for the past 20 to 30 years? Guess what? A lot of that is gone, or it's very limited. So again, how do I go about buying a car? Because it's one thing to buy on time, you got to know how to buy, and that's what I want to help you guys with. You know, Also, well, the infrastructure bill. Well, a lot of people don't understand that. Well, if the EVs are coming now, think about it. If the EVs are coming right now, and where I am in South Georgia, which is still SUV and truck country, how are they going to be pushing these EVs when we still deal with a lot of, oil, a bunch of gas stations? Well, a lot of people don't know that infrastructure bill has language in it that says they will be building EV stations across the country. They're going to look just like gas stations, but they won't have pumps. They're going to have charging stations attached to them. Because right now, as a country, we don't have the infrastructure to sustain a massive EV movement. Because right now, where I am, the only places you can get your vehicle charged is at Walmart and a dealership that actually has a charging station. And as of now, they're free. Well, they got to figure out how to monetize that. So those are some of the things that we can ultimately dive into. Along with that, well, what about the vehicles that are being discontinued? What about the vehicles that are considered safe? What are the vehicles that aren't safe? What about this V8 movement that all of a sudden now all the V8s are going away? Well, what's happening in the trucks? Because Ford just put out, the Maverick, and it's exploding. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, in sales, oh my God, like they can't keep them. So how is that going to affect trucks? Because coming down the horizon are going to be discontinuations of, some of the most popular trucks, such as Dually. Nissan ultimately is going to end up discontinuing the Titan, their truck, because of the language that was put in saying that by a certain time set by the government, V8s must die. That's why next year you would see the last year of the Dodge Charger V8, the Dodge Challenger V8. Next year's the last model of it. So what's the alternative after that? What is Dodge doing after that? That's the kind of stuff that we're going to ultimately dive into. Where are you going to go for for those thrill seekers? Where are you going to go for that? I don't know. But ultimately, we're going to find out, and we are going to find out together on this. This is truly a passion of mine, as you can see. I love this. I'm very well researched on it all. I try to keep up with everything for the most part. Each show is going to have its own different flavor, its own different spin, its own different feel, because I just feel like, because of how vast and how diverse the automotive industry is, we have to, I feel like I have to touch everybody. So again, there may be shows that are strictly finance. There may be shows that are completely and totally about how to buy a car. There may be shows that's about trade. Like right now, because of what's going on with our economy, as far as inflation as a whole is concerned, trades are worth more. This is one of the few times in our history where inflation actually is a positive for the consumer, because inflation for the most part is a negative, big negative, because that means, guess what? Things are costing more, but your wages aren't going up to keep up with that. Well, guess what? For the most part, we have a commodity, our vehicles, and because of the chip shortage, our current vehicle is worth more. So that's more money that's being brought in by our own vehicle. And hey, why not use it at this point? So how to go about maneuvering that and how to leverage that extra cash that your vehicle can bring in to get you kind of exactly closer to, at least closer to what it is that you want. Ultimately, this show is just going to be fun. It's going to be so much fun to sit here and do this every Monday. I am elated. This has been a long time coming, and I feel like this show is going to be like no other. I don't think there's anyone in the space doing this, because most that I have seen are only concentrating on the sales sides, how to make a better salesperson, or it's information overload. And I don't necessarily want it to be information overload. I want it to be constructive. I want it to be fun. I want it to be informative, educational, but for the most part, I will entertain you as well. This is not just going to be something that you just, oh my God, he's here trying to sell me a car. No, I'm not here trying to sell you a car. I just want you to be in a better position to buy one. And that's what ultimately this show will do. And because of my own background, coming from before I got into the automotive industry, coming from, the financial service industry, coming from customer service when I was a restaurant manager at McDonald's, sometimes the best thing that you can do is ask your people. So there are going to be times where I even reach out for subject matter to the consumer, because there are things that you ultimately are afraid of that I may not be thinking of. And I want you to feel like your voice is heard. And if there are any questions that we can answer, I'm more than happy to answer them here. Because again, this show is not for me, it's for you. And I want it to feel like that. That's why I chose the name Behind the Experience. It's not behind my experience. It's going to be behind yours. It's going to be behind it all. Now, there are ultimately plenty of stereotypes out there about car salespeople. And yes, I'm going to be here to help dispel some of that. I want ultimately, because we do have a bad name, and that bad name was given to us in the 70s and the 80s. A lot of slick talking, wheeling dealing type of people. The car business has changed a lot. There are a lot of ethics and standards that have been put into place. I know where I am at my own dealership. A lot of the training that we do, I'll say probably about 70% of it is in ethics. And to me, for the way that I do it, you can make all the money in the world and still do this the right way. I live by, a few different creeds. One of them is by the law of reciprocity. I am somebody that believes that what you do for someone, and if you do good, it will come back. So that's why I don't sit here and hunt for money and hunt for the dollar and try to, as we say, knock everybody's head off. It's not about that. At the end of the day, I'm not here to sell a car. I'm here to help you buy a car. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, all the different subject matters, man, not only will we be touching on motorcycle clubs and car clubs and modification. I will even touch on a little bit of NASCAR being down here in South Georgia. I got a few buddies that do race, not necessarily in NASCAR, but they do race cars. I'll have them on to talk about that as well. And potentially, because again, this is your show. This is something that I think everybody can learn from, and I think that everybody ultimately can benefit from. Now, where we are here in South Georgia, NASCAR is a pretty big thing, and with this and with the NASCAR, we have the closest track to us is going to be, well, major is going to be Atlanta Speedway, and then we do have Daytona, which is on Daytona is only about 3.5 hours from here. So you never know. You never know who's going to drop in on us as far as our guests are concerned. So this show is a lot to be excited about, and I'm ready, and I'm so ready. Now, one thing I will touch on, because it is becoming more and more prevalent, is that as we go on, like I said, there is a big, huge EV movement, right? And that's ultimately going to be every vehicle on the road. For now, people are in hybrids. Where I am, hybrids are not really much of a thing here in South Georgia, but I know further out west they are. Well, what you're going to end up seeing in the industry, hybrids are just going to end up becoming EVs much faster than everything else. So with that, I think that's why the industry is moving the way that it is that everyone is going to have at least one full-fledged EV. I think why hybrids are still going to be around, at least for the next 5 to 10 years, is that they need to improve the range on the EVs. Because currently right now, your EVs, for the most part, only have about a 300 mile to 350 mile to 400 mile range. And that's why your hybrids are going to be still around, and your gasoline engines are still going to be around for a while. Once that range starts to pick up, once you get one that can do 1,000 miles, you're going to start seeing these gasoline engines really start to die. If you're going to start to see these hybrids turn into EVs very, very, very quickly. And with that, that's when you're going to start to see mass transit kind of go into, honestly, I don't think mass transit will ever truly be hybrid. I honestly believe that mass transit, for the most part, they're gonna stick to fossil fuel until they switch completely over to EVs. I think where we are, I think for the most part for them, it's just going to be a lot cheaper for them to do that. And they're already testing this out. You don't believe me? Tesla has been working on the EV semi for a while now. And with that, they're even working with driverless semis as well. So that's all on the horizon. And that's going to be more and more of what we're going to eventually dig into further in depth. Like I said, I'm going to have guests on who are going to know far more about EVs and kind of what's going to happen over time with this than I will. I can't wait to start interviewing some of these folks, because just like you're curious, I'm curious too, because I have plenty of questions, especially for where I am geographically here in South Georgia, where, we ultimately, I work at a Nissan dealership, but it was also with a Cadillac dealership. So we actually end up, short story, we actually end up letting GM buy back our Cadillac dealership. And I bet you're like, what? You're in South Georgia. People drive Cadillacs. Why would y'all do that? I'm glad you asked. Well, we did that because GM, who ultimately owns, Cadillac, Buick, Chevrolet, GMC, GM decided that they were going to turn their entire Cadillac fleet of vehicles. So we're talking the CT4, CT5, CT6, those are the cars, the XT4, the XT5, and the XT6, and the Escalade, those are all your SUVs, into EV vehicles, all of them, right? So Cadillac will now be the exclusive EV line of GM. Here is the kicker. Here's the problem. Well, they weren't going to wait like the rest of, the industry to do this over the next 5 to 10, 15 years. No, they said they were going to do all of their vehicles in the next 3 to 4. This was a year ago. So they're in year 2 and getting ready to hit year 3. So every Cadillac now being produced is going to be an EV vehicle. Well, why did we allow GM to buy us back? Simple, because where we are geographically, it does not make sense. Remember when I told you we are in truck and SUV country? There may be 4 charging stations total in my town. And I live in a town of over 100,000 people. There may be 4 charging stations total. So for us, it did not make sense. Now, for your much larger towns, larger places, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Miami, Texas, everywhere in California practically, makes perfect sense. But for where I am, does not make sense at all. So a lot of your smaller, which we had a smaller lot, a lot of your smaller Cadillac dealerships decided to do the same thing. And that's what we are seeing is this kind of ripple effect of what these larger manufacturers are doing. And sometimes what ends up happening is these smaller markets, because we are considered a smaller market, these smaller markets are kind of getting, crushed out because of metropolitan thinking. Now, at some point, will Cadillac make a return back to where I am? Maybe. But as of now, no, because I'm in farm country. We don't need EVs at the moment. That's not a bash on EVs. I'm all about saving the environment. But for where we are right now, it didn't make dollars and cents. So we did what we did. We allowed GM to buy us back. Now, this may not be a problem from where you are, but ultimately this is a problem somewhere. But these are the things and the type of conversations that we ultimately have to have. Are we truly ready to go full on EV right now? I don't know. Some places are. Some places are prepared for that. California's prepared for it. They've been preparing for it for the past 10 years. Where I live isn't. It's not ready to do that yet. And this what ties back into the infrastructure bill. Are we ready to be forced into this? I don't know. Ultimately, will it save the environment? Sure. It will. But do I think a slower progression would be better? Maybe. But again, we're going to dive into all of this later at some point. I just wanted to get on here to let you know that this show is going to be for you. We're going to touch everything, all topics, all things dealing automotive. I'm excited. I can't wait. I can't wait to get guests on, and I can't wait for this show, for you guys ultimately to make this show exactly what I thought it would be. And this show to be all about you. I'm ready for this. This is Anthony McCreary from the McCreary Experience, from Behind the Experience. And like I said, this is not going to be my experience. Behind the Experience is going to be talking about yours. And I am absolutely so 100% ready to dive into it.
Sounds like it's going to be a fascinating show. I know a lot of people will be very much excited about it. I was definitely bringing up some of the questions I know that will come up in the conversation and all of that. And I don't know if you caught that last one, but growing up, I know a lot of people were excited to get their first license, get that learner's permit and all of that. But now we're seeing more and more independence where people are having self-driving cars and all along those lines. And like I said, I am not one of those drivers and one of those people that gets around by mass transit. And some people have told me that, hey, Mark, even though you just hit the big 60 in July, maybe, and I've had one car in my life that was actually a Grand Camino and all of that, similar to the old Starsky and Hutch car and all along those lines. And they were like, hey, maybe with self-driving cars, any disabilities, and I do have a thing called dysgraphia, it can be conquered, and you can get in one of those cars and it can take you to where you gotta go. And I was thinking that my nephews, who are 13 and 14, and I know that they have definitely been in my brother's car, and they definitely, I think both of them have driven the car at one point or another, but if they have kids of their own, that they may not even have to deal with cars. So as one who is in the car industry, and America is such a car-driven world, do you think that we'll ever get to the point that everybody's kind of scooting around in the Jetson style, and maybe even getting the car salesman out of the business in that sense? Maybe they're selling the cars that are self-driving instead of selling cars to the individuals that they have to drive either on a stick shift or automatic.
Right. Now, that I can answer. I can definitely tell you that the industry is going that way. Tesla is proving that. I think all of their models can be, as they say, pilotless.
Right.
There are plenty of times I'm on I-75 going to Atlanta or Tampa, and you'll pass by Tesla and you'll see someone in the passenger side sleep as the car's doing 80 miles an hour down the road. I don't think I'm ready to put that kind of trust into a vehicle quite yet, but to each their own.
Yeah, to each their own. Maybe some people will be doing that. I'm sure that that's also got to be scaring and startling some folks, because I'm sure that even you, when you look over to the side and you're going like, wait a minute, there's the person sleeping and somebody is maneuvering this car, and if it makes a tactical mistake and all of that, then I've got to, as the human, be ready to counter it, because I don't know that it has been trained effectively enough to move in the direction that I'm going. So I know that they probably got some safety constraints, but that is one of my fears, is even if I was in a car that was going to be self-driven, do we know that it has been programmed effectively and correctly? And it seems to me that there's going to have to be some human interaction with the car, even if it's nothing but you telling the car what to do, even if you're not doing it yourself.
Exactly. You know what I worry about? I worry about, so whose fault is it if you get into an accident and the car is driving, not the person?
Wow. Yeah. That, legally, whose fault would that be? That's a good question. Whose fault would it be? Yeah. Because, I mean, are you going to be, and is the creator of the car going to be held liable? I mean, it kind of comes to that whole conversation that goes on with bars and drunk driving. Is the drinker liable, or is the bar liable if they're the ones that served? And it sounds like that would be a similar argument with the car. Is the manufacturer that manufactured the car liable if the person that is driving it wasn't actually driving it, because it had to have been programmed and all of that, whether you programmed it or whether the manufacturer programmed it? Because it seems to me, and I'm not a lawyer, but it seems to me if the manufacturer programmed it, they would be liable. But how would you find them? And how would you find out which one of the programmers programmed them? Because that's a whole other conversation.
Right. And then would you be able to sue that individual programmer or company that may program? Like, is that even possible? So,
yeah, that's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. You mentioned that you're definitely going to have some clubs, and as I told you when you first mentioned the show, my brother is part of the Slingshot Club, and they definitely did some stuff in that space during COVID that was community service oriented, whether that was them going to help people that could not get to a graduation, have like a graduation feel of being celebrated, maybe just going there and giving them a salute, maybe bringing some food or doing other things to help honor them when we were in the midst of the throes of the pandemic. I know the president has said that the pandemic is winding down and all along those lines. I think he's actually even said that we're pretty much out of it, even though I know some people that are still sick, so I'm not quite ready to make that declaration, but I think he may have made it, and other officials might have made it as well. But I was just wondering if even in your neighborhood you saw clubs during the pandemic doing some of those kind of celebration things, because I know that even locally my brother has done those, but they've also been involved in some of our area parades, because I do know that a lot of times people love seeing those specialty cars, whether they're things like the Slingshot or whether they're the old antiques, because I know some people that are in that antique space as well. So definitely I'm thinking that you'll probably have some folks from your area and even other areas of the country and maybe even other parts of the world that are in different spaces and all along those lines.
Absolutely. We do have a couple of motorcycle clubs down here. Like I said, we do have a couple of clubs that also race cars. They actually make funny cars and they race them. So yeah, I actually work with one of our service guys, our service advisor. That's what he does in his spare time. He races cars. So absolutely, and they do great work for the community, especially during the holiday seasons.
And I know one of the things that our network will love, meaning Pod TV, is I'm hoping that at some point or another you'll also be able to bring guests from other parts of the globe, because we do know that sometimes the rules are totally different in other places. Because I know some folks that have come from places where we might be driving on one side of the road, they're driving on the other. So when they come here, they're a little bit thrown off, and if we go there, then we're thrown off. And we know that there are places, and I can't remember. I think you did it, sir. From Billy's show in the military, that there are places that I'm not sure the speed limit is even a thing that they believe in, because I'm thinking of places like the Autobahn, where apparently cars just go whizzing by at like all kinds of speeds that are not legal in whatsoever here, unless you are in a racetrack and all along those lines. So I'm thinking that as part of the show, you will try to bring in conversations about the way that car culture is treated differently, because I know even in places that are overseas like India and other places, you're not just dealing with cars, but you're dealing with like rickshaws and other kind of vehicles that are in the same lane as the car. So I'm sure that they have to deal with that. Chucks, in some countries you might even be dealing with on the same side of the road. You mentioned that Valdosta has farmland, but you might be dealing with folks that are going down with their tractors and their cows and their lambs and whatever other animals that they might have on that busy highway.
Exactly. Absolutely. As it pertains to different cultures, yes, it is completely, oh my God, completely different. How they see things, how they view automobiles, even how they build them. The way that, let's just say, a Nissan is built here is not the same way it's built overseas. There are certain components of a vehicle that are illegal here.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
so definitely.
And will you be touching, because one of our shows that we have here is a show that is involved in the space of human rights, and particularly human rights as it relates to weed and all of that. And that's our show, Weed Wednesday. And I do know that there have been some people that have talked about some of the ways that some of those products can be used even in cars, because they're talking about some of the uses that I think cannabis and other things have in terms of natural gas and other things. So I'm hoping that you might even be bringing in some of these alternative means of fuel and alternative ways of using different products that are out there.
Yes, potentially that is something that we can touch on some, because before we got to this whole EV movement, there was a movement of alternative fuel,
Right.
where there was this guy who was going across the country and using old like oil from like restaurants and things
Hmm.
to actually fuel his car.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So he was actually fueling it with old gas, so not even his current gas, but he was finding old gas and fueling that, and that is definitely something interesting. I know there was a whole nature movement that was having all kinds of alternative ways of fueling things, and even in that foreign space, I know that growing up, my parents had two cars that I think were very popular, at least had some popularity, if in only in the spy movies and some of the James Bond movies. But growing up, I remember that we had both Fiats and Citroen. So I know that that's not necessarily your brand, because you're at the dealership. I think you said Nissan. But are we seeing some of those kind of more foreign cars still have the popularity that they might have had, say, in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s? Because I know there was even a car dealership in Raleigh that specialized in those, and some people would say Subaru falls in that same category. But I don't even know if the French are making cars as much as they used to, because I think Citroen was a French-based company, if I remember correctly.
So the whole thing with Citroen, I'm glad you mentioned Citroen.
Yes.
So they actually bought Chrysler.
Oh.
So it's Chrysler Citroen kind of thing. So Fiat is under Chrysler.
Okay.
Hmm.
So they're both under Chrysler. So both Fiat and Citroen are now under Chrysler, whereas before they had their own brands. And I know that one of our founders, Kim Calhoun, will be very glad that you are bringing on women in non-traditional roles. I know I had the pleasure of interviewing on one of my shows a truck driver. She had done other things, but she is a woman truck driver, and I know that Kim, in addition to being one of the founders of Pod TV, is an engineer by trade and actually did some of the early work, if I remember correctly, in the fiber space, particularly the fiber space here in North Carolina. But I know that there's even a young lady that I interviewed a long time ago that was in that NASCAR space, and I know that definitely there are women mechanics. I've had some friends of mine that have gone into car sales jobs. Some of them have stayed in the car sales jobs. Some of them found out that it wasn't for them, and they might have run back to what they were doing before, which might have been real estate or insurance or some of the other jobs. Because one of the things that I've observed is that even though we put salesmen in that negative light, one salesman is not the same as another. While there are some people that would argue that if you can sell one thing, you can sell anything. I don't know that I quite agree with that. I mean, you've had experience in food, restaurants, and now cars, but do you believe that that sales personality is something that everybody has, or is it specialized? Because I know that some of my friends that are women that have tried to be car salesmen, some of them have come back to me and been like, this is not as easy as I thought it was. So I'm going to go back into either insurance or go back into learning real estate or other things that aren't, in my mind, easy either. But they might have found it more easier for them. And some of it was also some of the biases that they face, because we do know that there can be some sexism in the industries as well. But I've just always been fascinated by salespeople. And I was wondering, do you think that if you are able to sell one product, you can necessarily sell another?
Okay. Because I'm kind of a salesperson to my heart. So I would say yes, because for the most part, the process is the exact same. And that's the thing. You have to be addicted to the process. The commodity is the commodity. The commodity can change, but the process should not.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. Have because like I said, I've had the pleasure of meeting some that were really excited about being in the industry. And do you think that there is enough both folks of color within the car industry, and are there enough women that are on the front lines in terms of being salespeople? I'm not necessarily talking about the receptionists, not downplaying any receptionists, because receptionists are very important in any business and all along those lines. But I was just wondering, do you think that we're seeing enough women and folks of color, whatever that color may be, in the car industry, or would you like to see more expansion in that space?
So to fully answer that question, I think I do think we are seeing more diversity in the car industry. Where I think we're having the problem is just kind of like what the NFL is having the problem with. So we've got all these black players,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't have any, or at least a lot of black executives or color or different diversity of executives. Same thing in the car industry. So now we're seeing this diverse sales force,
Mm-hmm.
but they're still answering to, people who don't look like them.
Right.
There aren't enough executives that are diverse to me in this industry. Now, there aren't to say there aren't exceptions.
Right.
Good example would be like Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
That's a chocolate city, right?
Right.
So of course, most of your dealerships that you'll see there are going to be run by people that look like you.
Right.
But you come down to my area here in Valdosta, there's only two GMs that look like me, and I'm working for one.
Wow.
Out of what, 15, 20 dealerships?
Mm. Yeah, that's not a good track record in that sense and everything. I'm thinking that part of the problem may be that the cost factor of owning a dealership, because it can't be easy to buy the lot. You got to buy the cars and the have the product line to have that you are selling and all of that. So I don't know how much it costs to set up a dealership, but just the property alone, meaning the vast land that you would need to put all of those cars on, cannot be all of that cheap. So I'm thinking that a good dealership would be at least in the millions, if not the multiple millions. But maybe there are ways to get around that. But am I correct in thinking that in order to start a good dealership, you would need to probably have $1 million in investment? Because I'm thinking just to have the cars on the lot would be a problem in terms of getting the space as well as the product line.
So depending on how large your lot is ultimately going to be, you are going to have, I would say, probably anywhere between a small lot, $250,000 liquid, meaning you can touch it,
Right.
or is upward as about $1 million liquid,
Right.
you know, readily available,
Yeah,
because
that's what I was
that's
thinking.
ultimately going to, get you your floor plan, which a floor plan is just the bank that you're ultimately backed by, that you're going to be buying all your inventory with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That makes sense. I know another thing that I'm hoping you're going to touch on because it becomes something that, unfortunately, a lot in our community are falling for, and I would say sometimes become a victim of. But even here in North Carolina, there are those car lots that are basically um, junker type lots. So they're trying to sell you a car that is definitely gone through the ringers. And I'm not saying that they can't be converted and all along those lines, but it is something that I hope within the show you will touch on, because I do know a number of people that try to get cars and they're sitting there going like, wait a minute, it's going to be much cheaper because instead of paying, maybe a couple of $1,000s to get that initial good car, they're going to have to put down 100. And I know this is Hispanic Heritage Month, and one of our newer shows that we just launched yesterday is in that Hispanic community called K-Pasa. And I know that it's not just our community, but also the Hispanic communities and other kind of communities that have tight budgets that have been hit by some of these kind of organizations. So I'm hoping that that's something that you'll touch on. Not saying that used cars are all bad, because some used cars are definitely a good commodity, but there are some others that you're sitting there going like, how dependable are they, if I can put it that way?
Right. And then kind of what to look for if you're only going to buy a pre-owned or used vehicle.
Right.
Because I know for what we do at my dealership, we certify all of our pre-owned vehicles, meaning that they're going to go through a 167-point inspection. If there's anything wrong with it, we're going to fix it. And then on top of that, we're going to leave that type of paperwork in the vehicle and then show it to you before you sign your paperwork to buy it. So right off top, you're buying a quality vehicle.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And all along those lines, I can definitely see people that will be wondering about that and wondering how that can be done, and be looking forward to having that happen, and looking forward to these great conversations that you'll be having and all along those lines. And definitely, I know a lot of people will be excited about it. And I'm looking forward to this show, and we will definitely bring up a commercial about your line as we get out, and maybe one or two other commercials, but glad that I could pop in and direct some of the conversation. But I think that folks got a good idea of what it'll be, and I did adjust the audio because I did hear folks make that comment later. I just now caught that and everything, but we'll be sure to be more on top of that in future episodes. But definitely we've made it, and we definitely hear Earl Spate, who's actually somebody that I've known for a while, saying that great sound and good info, and he's looking forward to hearing more about the show and more about the conversation and all along those lines. So I think that we're in for a great show here. We'll start it off at the 10 o'clock hour on Mondays, and who knows, maybe eventually move it to other times based on your schedule and my schedule, but we'll definitely start it off at 10 for the first couple of months or whatever. But I think folks are in for a definite treat and all along those lines. So I'm gonna bounce off, and if you've got any final words that you want to share with our listeners before we get to that Valdosta commercial, I will bounce off and we'll let you have the last words and all of that. But I think that folks are in for a definite treat over the next several Mondays as we delve into the automobile industry with the amazing Anthony McCreary.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. As you can see, this is our first show. I promise you this will get better. And of course, this show is going to be about you and the things that interest you in the automotive space and in the automotive industry. You can follow me on Facebook at the McCreary Experience, at the McCrearyExperience.com, the McCreary Experience on Facebook and on Instagram. I am for you and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. See you guys later on. Till next Monday.
Valdosta Nissan has your new Nissan. Come drive yours away today.
Our flagship all-new 2022 Nissan Pathfinder comes with style and new advanced safety technology. Go on a new adventure with just 1.9% financing right now. 2022 Rogues are dropping in daily. Also available with just 1.9% financing right now.
Plus, get free oil changes for life and a 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. That's real service after the sale.
The thrill of the drive, only at Valdosta Nissan.
Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. We know all of this genius inside of us, we continue to develop and change because the master, the omnipotent one, placed his image and his likeness inside of you and I. So we've got to stay the course. I'm Eliza Dukes Carter, CEO of the Breathing Experience Movement, master breathologist, stress and behavior analysis strategist, a recording artist, a best-selling author, and an ambassador to the Genius is Common movement, because we know that genius is common. So keep in your flow. And I appreciate you, Bruce George. Thank you kindly, and blessings and peace.
I attend ICABA events as often as possible because the connections and the networking opportunities are immeasurable.
Is putting you in an environment where you can rub shoulders, you can actually talk to wealth creators, to entrepreneurs who may look like you, who may come from circumstances like you, who may come from an environment like your environment. And then once you go ahead and grab that baton, you might say, well, this is possible. This individual over here did it, and now I can do it. So ICABA is raising our level of vision, and they're doing a fantastic job.
My name is Renee Taylor, and I grew up in Summit, New Jersey, born and raised. I love to laugh with my friends. I love to go to the movies, but recently I became a published author. The breakthrough. One of my best friends says it's insightful, it's inspiring, it's relatable. I mean, that meant so much to me that she said this about me, knowing me. But for you, it's going to be an up-close view of my challenges, my struggles, everything that I've been through, and how I made it out on the other side. So I believe that we are all breaking through, and I want you to break through too. So pick it up so it can change your life. And I've had choices that turned me into the woman that I am today. I managed to break past and break through all of those hard times. And this is true too. With the amazing group of authors I've asked to join me in the breakthrough.
I'd like you to imagine with me, if you will, opening an app where you can collaborate with like-minded individuals from around the world, get inspiration and in-app tools to launch and grow your business, as well as share your knowledge and earn compensation, all in one app. Well, the name of that app is Truso, short for Truly Social. Hi, I'm Matthew Newman, the founder and CEO of Truso. A new concept in social media, Truso is designed from the ground up to be a platform that's both social and empowering for all its users. How exactly do we do that? I'm glad you asked. First, Truso brings the world together via video. Psychologists assert that video provides a significantly more effective connection than audio only. When you enter a community on Truso, you're face to face. Second, on Truso, you don't have to have 1 million followers to monetize. Our business model allows all hosts and moderators to monetize, no matter the size of your following, by 1, producing fee-based content, and 2, inviting others to join the platform as subscribers. Even more, Truso has an in-app resource library with over 100 free resources, forms, and documents to help you build your brand and grow your business. Third, Truso is inclusive. The deaf and hard of hearing communities make up 360 million people worldwide. Unlike audio-only apps, Truso embraces its community, providing a networking platform that allows them to participate via video and closed captioning. We even have a deaf and hard of hearing foundation in the works as well. Fourth, Truso is both social and safe. We refer to Truso as a virtual extension of the beauty shop, barbershop, and brainchild of the community. A place where there's laughter, along with wisdom, growth-oriented conversation, and genuine connections in a safe space. Truso even has proprietary security to ensure we maintain a safe environment for everyone. Where are we at now? Truso is live, y'all. We've launched in beta and we're acquiring users daily. We have an incredible development and marketing team, plus amazing celebrity influencers at the table, helping us spread the word around the globe, beginning within the African diaspora and beyond by creating a safe space for growth, connection, and collaboration. We're truly excited about Truso. We've created something special for which there is a global market. And we invite you to embark on this journey with us as a shareholder. The future for Truso is truly bright. Join us and let's go there together.
You know that song, More Than Words? Gosh, I hope your culture is just more than words. More than words on a wall, more than words in a handbook, more than words on a website. More than words. How is your culture showing up, living and breathing every single day? Food for thought. My name's Shelley Smith and I am your culture curator.
One of the things that business owners forget a lot is to prepare for their own retirement.
Hi, my name's Nick Palavita, and today I'm with a very special guest, a certified financial planner, a chartered retirement plan specialist, and president of National Pension Partners, Max Couliet. Max, tell me what you do at National Pension Partners.
Well, Nick, we help successful small businesses and professionals put together retirement plans that provide them the maximum retirement benefits and big tax deductions at the same time.
Well, how do you do this?
Well, we get on an internet conferencing system with the client. We review their goals, what they want to accomplish, and then put together strategies to help them in implementing a retirement plan that benefits them, not everybody else.
Well, that sounds really good, but how much does this cost?
Well, it's really not bad because the first consultation is free. That allows us to go through and discover whether this strategy works for that business and for you as the business owner and helping you maximize your retirement.
Well, Max, how do we get this free appointment?
It's really pretty simple, Nick. You can either go to our website below or call us at 877-252-1692, and then we can set up a time with either myself, Nick, or one of our other retirement plan specialists, another CPA or advisor in the office, to go over this with you and make sure it fits for you.
Hi, my name is Lewis Haupt. I work with National Pension Partners, and I work with businesses to allow them to put the maximum away that they can for themselves and to save taxes.
Hi, I'm Brad Coyle, and I'm the brokerage manager at National Pension Partners. We're always analyzing plan fund choices in order to ensure the participant's success.
If you want more information on how we can help you and your business put more money away in a retirement plan than you ever thought possible, contact us at the website below or call us at 877-252-1692.
Hi, my name is Kim Green, and I am one of the founders of Black, Bases Loaded, Authentic Clothing and Caps, spelled with a K. We have the distinct pleasure every day of introducing the world to people that have had a tremendous impact on our country. In doing so, we're allowing the accomplishments of these groups to both be celebrated and acknowledged, while our customers are provided the opportunity to commemorate them with high quality and stylish attire. Black specializes in licensed apparel for Negro League Baseball, Buffalo Soldiers, and the Tuskegee Airmen. We started Black to act as an educational partner to museums nationwide to not only inform everyday Americans on Black history, but to celebrate the individuals that played on segregated sports teams and served in segregated units of the military. The problem we're solving is twofold. One, Black history, which is American history, has been excluded from the core curriculum in our children's schools. And two, when we started the company, it was and really still is hard to find high quality Black history apparel. Our goal is to change both of those things.
Hello, I'm Brian K. McNeil, the Sales Confidence Coach. And what I do is I help service-based entrepreneurs to sell their services better than they ever have before so they can earn more money than ever before. I teach them what to say and what to do that infuses them with more confidence in their business than ever before. Again, my name is Brian K. McNeil, and I am the Sales Confidence Coach.